Come, let us explore ancient meditation secrets nobody teaches. Together, let us relaxingly recite. Nothing dispels the disinformation, misinformation, mythology, and superstition surrounding mindfulness and meditation, quite like neuroscience. Let us begin by considering mindfulness. Every time we inhale, we are wired to access the sympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way. Vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly, which is quite antithetical to the rigidity and controlling tendencies inherent to concentration. But what have we evolved to notice? We have evolved to notice perceptions, such as seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like. We have also evolved to notice the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. If this mindfulness is the natural function of our sympathetic nervous system, then why do we sit down every 12 hours or so to formally practice? Every time we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this or the verb noticing during our inhalation, we interrupt the habit of our clever cerebral cortex to compete against our sympathetic nervous system. And instead we set space for these two to cooperate. But what are we to do with all that we notice? With each inhalation, we are wired to notice all manner of things. From the internal to the external, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful. From the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. What are we to do with all this stuff? Meditate. So come, let us explore the neuroscience of meditation. Each time we exhale, we are wired to effortlessly and automatically access our parasympathetic nervous system, which is divided between the lower third and the upper third of that same spinal cord we mentioned previously. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support our physical relaxation as well as mental release of that which we noticed during our previous inhalation, to the point that which we noticed could be as non-graspable. Let's try this again. That which we noticed could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Oh, I think a pyramid would be lovely. Right about here. What do you think, guys? Now, any good English teacher could remind us that a simile is only as effective as it is relatable. Thus, we have to ask the question, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful, cloudless morn, which, although compelling to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand? Thus we could see emptiness only makes sense when seen through a flexible worldview that accepts that not all statements are literal, requiring blind faith or pseudo-intellectual mental gymnastics. For some of us, sitting in mindfulness and meditation for about an hour or so, for about an hour twice daily is absolutely no problem. However, some of us could require a more gradual or hedonistic approach. Thus, sitting in mindfulness and meditation for about 5 minutes every 12 hours or so could be a good start. The second week, that could be lengthened to 10 minutes every 12 hours. The third week, that could be lengthened to 15 minutes every 12 hours. Over the course of 12 weeks, one could progress by an additional 5 minutes every week, and thusly condition one's body and mind to sit for an hour every 12 hours or so. One of the benefits of this incremental approach is that it could give our body, mind, partner, pets, children, and schedule an opportunity to gently acclimate to this lifestyle change. One might ask, if this relaxing and releasing is the natural behavior of our parasympathetic nervous system, then why bother sitting in mindfulness and meditation every 12 hours or so? Each time we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease or the multisyllabic verb relaxing during our exhalation, we are interrupting the habit of our clever cerebral cortex to actively compete against our parasympathetic nervous system. Instead, open space for these two to cooperate in a delightfully therapeutic manner. This is why the Buddha taught mindfulness and meditation. I must check on something. Having completed our opening lesson, together let us shift gears. It is Qui-Gon Jinn Tuesday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. We turn our attention now to the latest iteration of very easy meditation, and I'm going to add something here, and I'm going to make this a trifle smaller, so I'm going to hit home at 18. Oopsie. That's weird. Why isn't it typing? Now, that seems awfully weird. Something is just... Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, here we go. Let's make this a little smaller. Okay. Well, thank you for your patience while I was editing my little brains out. Together let us relaxingly recite. Whatever comes, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Whatever stays, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Whatever goes, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Upon the tip of our left index finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger, palms up in our lap. Thus, working with our index fingers, we could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the crown region of our head. Let's review mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are wired to access the sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way, to help us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Now let us consider meditation. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we are wired to automatically access the parasympathetic nervous system, divided between the lower third and the upper third of that same spinal cord. Our parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now, yes, we are wired by evolution to notice and release. But due to a quirk in our evolution, we tend to live in competition against our autonomic nervous system. How do we cooperate with it? Simple. By silently and mentally reciting, noticing, and relaxing during each inhalation and exhalation. Welcome to the second quarter of this evening's live stream. Let us relaxingly recite 4 repetitions of this 7th passage of Prahe Vajra's source text of Dzogchen, the vast expanse of the Diamond-like mind. Meditation is relaxing without seeking, in the Dharmanta that does not visibly appear. If one actively searches for it and for something in it, the natural condition will never manifest. So mindfulness is noticing, and meditation is relaxing. Dharmata is a metaphor for the mastery of the two. We attain this mastery not by actively concentrating or actively analyzing, but by passively noticing and passively relaxing. Let us continue. Meditation is relaxing without seeking, in the Dharmata or mastery of awareness and release that does not visibly appear. Well, that's weird. Let's see if I can't fix that. All right, that'll work. So let's try this again. Meditation is relaxing without seeking in the Dharmata or mastery of awareness and release that does not visibly appear. If one actively searches for it or for something in it, the natural condition will never manifest. Natural condition. There are two definitions for that phrase. Conventionally, no natural condition is giving ourselves permission to be honest with ourselves, to be honest with what we see about the beauty or ugliness of what we see, hear, feel, taste, smell, and the like, including honesty, being honest with ourselves about what we emote, intend, reason, recall, or imagine. Ultimately, natural condition refers to enlightenment. We're already wired to practice noticing and relaxing. We're already wired to master noticing and relaxing to the degree that we practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. All we need to do is get out of our own way together. Meditation is relaxing without seeking in the Dharmata or mastery of awareness and release that does not visibly appear. If one actively searches for it and for something in it, the natural condition will never manifest. So we do not traverse a controlling path, but a laid-back path. To be less like the Big Lebowski and more like the dude. Together, meditation is relaxing without seeking in the dharmata or mastery of noticing and relaxing. That does not visibly appear. If one actively searches for it and for something in it, the natural condition will never manifest. Upon the tip of our left little finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger, palms up in our lap. Thus, working with our little fingers, we could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce in the bladder region of our lower abdomen. Let us review mindfulness every time we inhale, whether we know it or not. Thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, we vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. Now let us review meditation. Every time we exhale, whether we mean to or not, we access our parasympathetic nervous system, which is evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now, yes, our autonomic nervous system is quite wondrous, but we tend to live in competition with it, which doesn't do us very much good. The easiest way to cooperate, therefore, with our autonomic nervous system is to silently and mentally recite the verb noticing during each inhalation, and to silently, mentally recite the verb relaxing during each exhalation. Together, let us relaxingly recite 4 repetitions of this 8th passage. The supremely secret reality cannot be heard through the sense of hearing. Likewise, it cannot be expressed by the tongue, not even in the slightest. There is no substitute. I could tell you how good a fresh organic cherry tastes, but you won't know what it tastes like until you taste it. I can tell you how to sit. I can tell you how to play with your fingers. I can tell you how to practice mindfulness and meditation. But until you actually practice it regularly, you will not viscerally understand the wisdom of letting go. Together. The supremely secret reality cannot be heard through the sense of hearing. Likewise, it cannot be expressed by the tongue, not even in the slightest. The supremely secret reality cannot be heard through the sense of hearing. Likewise, it cannot be expressed by the tongue, not even in the slightest. One moment, if you please. Together, the supremely secret reality cannot be expressed by the tongue, not even in the slightest. Likewise, it cannot be heard through the sense of hearing. Together, the supremely secret reality cannot be meaningfully expressed by the tongue, not even in the slightest. Likewise, it cannot be meaningfully understood through the sense of hearing. Upon the tip of our left middle finger, we could rest the great knuckle of our right middle finger, palms up, in our lap. Thus, working with our middle fingers, we gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the heart region of our chest. Good evening, and welcome to the fourth quarter of this evening's live stream. Together, let us relaxingly recite 4 repetitions of this 9th passage of the root text of Dzogchen, composed 14 centuries ago by the Buddhist reformer Prahevajra. Together. The suffering of beings is the bodhicitta that fully manifests while pervading all. Let's continue. Without ever being moved, it abides equally, just as the reaches of space. What is meant by suffering? Suffering is a poor translation, and I'm going to paraphrase it here, for the word dukkha, or stress. Stress can be subtle, or it can be existential. Stress is not an indictment. We don't experience stress because we're bad people. There are many, ask a biologist or a geologist. They will tell you there are many stressors. There are physical stressors, there are circumstantial stressors, there are interpersonal stressors, there are mental stressors. We evolved the capacity to perceive stress as a survival mechanism. Our ancestors who were not born with the capacity to experience stress seldom lived long enough to pass on their genetic material. So come, let us not beat ourselves up or submit to the foolishness of fools who would beat us up and tell us, oh, you only feel stress because you're foolish or selfish or some such thing. In fact, what we're told by the author of this text is that the enlightening mindset is stress itself. Now, that's a metaphor. Let's see how this plays out. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever stress we experienced during our previous inhalation could feel less tantalizing, less permanent, less defining, less graspable. And then the next moment when we breathe in, it's vivid once again. But that exercise of swinging back and forth like a pendulum on a grandfather clock, swinging back and forth between perception and release, that is the path of enlightenment. Enlightenment is not a destination wherein we never feel pain ever again. That's a child's fantasy. Enlightenment is simply the mastery of the Buddha's techniques, getting so good at them that we practice them spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. And so one of the great ironies is that in dealing with the slings and arrows of outrageous misfortune, yes, I just ripped off Shakespeare, in dealing with the slings and arrows of outrageous misfortune, by simply noticing and relaxing in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation, we are traversing the path of enlightenment. And now, the path of enlightenment is not unique to stress. It also works with pleasure. That's why it's very common to see in tantric art Buddhas sitting and sporting in tantric union. That reminds us of many things, including the fact that both the blisses as well as the pains in our life are both useful tools on enlightenment's path. And thus we transcend the duality that shoves at pain and pulls towards bliss recognizing that whatever befalls us, we can use it on the path. Let's continue. Without ever being moved, it abides equally just as the reaches of space. We don't have to go to a special place or find special companions or find a special teacher. As long as we are sentient in a reasonably healthy central nervous system, we can practice noticing and relaxing in harmony with our breathing. This tears enlightenment out of the clutches of patriarchy's elitism and sets it firmly upon the ground of egalitarianism. Together, let us recite 2 more times. The stress of beings is the bodhicitta or mindset of enlightenment that fully manifests while pervading all. Without ever being moved, it abides equally just as the reaches of space. The stress of beings is the bodhicitta or mindset of enlightenment that fully manifests while pervading all. Without ever being moved, it abides equally just as the reaches of space. Upon the tip of our left ring finger, we could rest the great knuckle of our right ring finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so working with our ring finger and our ring knuckle, we gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the navel region of our mid-abdomen. Automatically, whether we feel it or not, or believe it or not. Let us take a moment or two to review mindfulness. Every time we inhale, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord, we are wired to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice dualities such as dread and desire, danger and safety, lack and boon, pain and pleasure, scorn and praise, shame and fame. Now let us review meditation. Every time we exhale, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, we are wired to both physically relax and mentally release. Now you could say, well, if we have this fabulous autonomic nervous system, why aren't we all enlightened? Well, because we've been conditioned to live in opposition or competition against our autonomic nervous system, which begs the question, what's the most efficient way to condition ourselves to cooperate with our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems? Simple. During each inhalation, we can silently and mentally recite a notice saying, and during each exhalation, we can silently and mentally recite relaxing. Enlightenment is as easy as that. So while we're practicing over the next few minutes, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation or Buddhist philosophy, please do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours or so, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's morning meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.